That is such a valuable piece of advice there.
These are the sorts of things that we should talk about right in the first 5 minutes of the podcast.
Started giving people free quotes. Isn't sunshine and rainbows, and isn't, everyone sees you doing so well.
For just being a solo
The
operator.
change in mindset makes a massive difference.
Welcome to Aussie Lawn Stars.
But yeah, we probably have spent a lot of time on the big stuff. I mean, the big stuff's very good. And we do a lot of the really get out there and try and do a lot of the shows and whatnot around the country. So obviously BJ's Quip shows are coming up. I think you're getting to the Sydney one, are you?
Yeah,
or
the Sydney one
still?
I'll be at. I was hoping I'd make it to more than the Sydney one, but Cape York trip's going to take precedent, so I'll miss out.
Yeah.
I'll be in Cairns when the Brisbane one's on, and when I get back here, it's too close to the Melbourne one to be able to do everything.
Yeah. So we'll be at those. So if anyone wants to come and check out the range, which is a lot of people I think are interested in the shows, we'll have it at all three. And same as any demo days, and I think Luke's podcast tour. He just did one last night. I didn't get over there. I was preoccupied, but come and have a look and ask any questions. We definitely there's a lot to ask about this product. We could spend 5 hours on this, I know.
Well, let's jump over with the time we've got left. We've got a little bit of time before you or I need to run. We've both got kids that are doing stuff this afternoon.
Yes, it's my oldest birthday today, so Dad's on. Dad's got to make burgers for tea. That's the request. So
nice. I'll come and join you.
Yeah. What do you want? Cheeseburger, tomato sauce?
I'm gluten free, but hit me with the.
We'll do a lettuce bun. All right, let's move on, mate.
Handheld equipment. Let's hit the 82 volt because I want to get the commercial gear covered more than anything.
Yeah.
But if there's anything in the other range that you find contractors are buying, jump in with that too. But in your 82 volt handheld OPE, I'm guessing you cover the full range of tools like your whippersnippers, blowers, hedge trimmers, chainsaws. What am I missing? Multi-tools.
Multi-tools. There's quite a lot coming. There's quite a lot we have in our product range, and you pretty well nailed the core products that everyone looks at: push mowers, blowers, hedge trimmers, chainsaws.
In
the
push mower range, you got in the 82 volt, you got a 21 and a 30.
21, a 25, and a 30. Currently.
Oh, okay. Yep. So you got three to choose from.
So we got three, and we will have four very shortly. We'll have a 22-inch alloy base.
Yep. Now, what's the battery configurations in these when you're running them?
So with your 21 and 25-inch units that we currently have on market, we use a dual port setup. So you don't need two batteries to use it, but you can have two batteries for extended runtime. So much like we touched on with the 60-volt product, it'll use one and then drain one and then automatically change over to the other.
So once one's drained, you could plug it into your charger and just
pull it out.
One battery.
And if you had two on the port, it'll always use the left-hand one first and then change over to the right. So if you were doing a day or you were doing a big job, you could just pull it out, put it in the dual port charger. We do recommend our 8 amp hour battery in the mowers just purely for runtime and performance out of that unit.
That's what I wanted to hit on. So what's your smallest 82 volt battery that you run?
So currently we have two batteries in the range, but I'll expand to the third one because that's coming not too far off. So we currently just have a 4 amp hour and an 8 amp hour.
Okay, yep.
But we will have a 2.5 amp hour and a 6 amp hour. I'm just thinking, I will say it, a 6 amp hour pouch Energy X battery, we call it. So that one will be probably later this year. And then we also have some suitcase battery technology for some of the newer products coming. So
suitcase, you mean like you'll put it on your back as a backpack?
Yeah, backpack battery, but also on some of our new product it'll be like a 10 or a 20 amp sort of slimline configuration, like a rectangular battery that will mount. So say like a push mower or something.
Mount
like
onto
that.
the mower directly, yeah.
Yep. So I want to really talk about our new 22-inch mower. Obviously, Ego launched theirs, and it's a pretty good unit by all accounts.
I've
not that
heard
long ago.
Negative about it yet?
No. We definitely wanted to. We've been developing our mower probably along the same sort of timeline as them. And again, what they do very well, feedback, and I think we try to keep our ear to the ground and whatever feedback we can give. Our biggest one is that we want a low height of cut. So the 21-inch that we currently have on market is still a 35 mil lowest height of cut. So as you know, we just talked about it. It needs to be lower. We do have an option coming for that very, very shortly, without giving away too much in terms of an accessory blade, which will get it down to where everyone. That's been our main feedback on that unit. The 25 does a 25 mil cut. The 30-inch does a 38 mil cut. But our new 22-inch alloy base will be down to 20 mil. So
now on the blade, I don't want to push you on that blade accessory, but when you're talking push mowers, if you're in Australia, your blade is going to be close to the same height as the bottom of the deck, whereas in America it could be 10 mils in.
It's a safety standard that the US and EU even have, that the blade has to be at least 10 to 15 mil inside.
The
so
deck height.
If you put, and it doesn't matter whether it's petrol or battery, if you put your foot underneath the deck, it's not going to chop your toes off. I mean, I don't know. Again, it's like petrol ride-on mowers. You have to have a reverse override because someone in America backed over someone and then sued them. I don't know who would be brave enough to put their foot under a mower with the batteries engaged, but clearly someone, blades engaged, but someone definitely does.
So in Australia, we have the name toe cutter for a reason.
Yes, we do.
So what I'm getting at is some people will put a blade spacer on a typical push mower so they can get a lower cut of height. I've seen numerous mowers where that's an option on a push mower or a ride-on mower. You put a blade spacer in there, you can drop it by 5 mil or 10 mil or maybe more. What's the deal with the Greenworks? You said the one with the 35 mil height.
Yeah, so the 21-inch, our number one feedback for a lot of operators are really, really don't really mind where the height of cut currently is, but some that do need to cut lower, the feedback is we need a lower cut blade and something with a bit of a higher flute for the thicker grass and wetter grass. So we've been working on, and we've toyed with quite a lot, and as I'm sure a lot of OEMs have, with I've trialed swingback blade kits on these units, and I think I've even heard some of the other battery OEMs you've had on here talk either in the Facebook groups or on podcasts, where swingbacks is what Australians want, but with battery, the bar blade works better. We get a better once we get the RPM up of the electric motor, we just get a lot better runtime and better performance out of the bar blade configuration.
Sense. From a mechanical output for an electric motor, I understand that. It makes a lot of sense to go with the bar blade.
It just does. We found 2 swingback blades didn't. I wasn't really a fan, and I tested it on a lot. Put 4 on there, works better, but geez, our runtime and drag and all what you talk the mechanical factors just wasn't not a viable option. So we'll probably just have a step down high flute option as an accessory for that user that wants. And I've spoken to quite a few end users that have got our products, and even in 60 volt, it's a common thing. It'll be an aftermarket accessory. It won't be a included item from new, but it'll definitely be an option there that will be available hopefully in the next month or two.
So is that mower designed to meet the American and EU standards at the moment? Is that why it's that height? Yeah, okay.
And
much like what I'm getting at.
Much like a lot of other brands, some brands will change a certain part, like the blade configuration, just to meet this particular market. And that's why they get the support they do. If we don't listen to people like yourself and all the listeners and any of our customers, then why would you want to invest your money in our product if it's not ticking the box? And we need to come up with a solution. Part of being Greenworks Commercial, like we're a solutions-based company. I need to see what solution I can do to improve your productivity, but also our product as well. Our feedback has already changed. When we launched the 25-inch, they wanted it to be the 38 mil, and I'm like, that's not going to work here. We need it to be 25. So they altered it and changed it pretty quickly for us. So
that's good.
Yeah, but so touching on the range, so 21 and 25 is currently what we have. They're being the more popular selling. The 25 has been a pretty popular unit, purely that you're getting it's a pretty light, compact unit. We talk about weight and battery products earlier on. I think the 21 inch is 32 kilos and the 25 is 33 kilos without batteries in it.
That's pretty good.
The 30 inch is the tank, and it's a particular purpose mower. It's 82 kilos without batteries. It's a heavy unit. It's packed full of technology. It runs 3 8-amp-hour batteries rather than the 2.
Yep.
But where the power of that one's sort of, we say, 230cc petrol equivalent.
Okay, I was wondering how the power ratings go by comparison across the range. Yeah, that's good to know.
So that one has a maximum 4 kilowatt or 4,000 watt electric motor, so it will deliver 4,000 watts for a short period, but constant's 2,000 watts. So, and that'll spin blades at 3,300 RPM constantly.
So is it a single motor dual blade? Is it?
It's a dual blade, but the 30 inch is actually just a shrunken version of our stand-on technology. So we use 2 independent deck motors that are this counter rotating with a center discharge.
Still,
2 motors, and then it uses a hub motor we don't have a gearbox in the 30 inch. It uses hub motors on each rear wheel.
Nice.
Whereas the 25 and 21 inch utilize a brushless electric motor that drives the gearbox. So we still have a gearbox that takes up the real estate in the rear of that mower.
Now, the only concern I've got there, hub motors on a push or self-propelled mower will sometimes get immersed in water. Like a zero turn, it's less likely, but on a self-propelled walk behind, sometimes they'll get immersed in water. That's just the operators are...
They will. They're completely sealed though. So
okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, they're IPX5 rated. So, and then we employed that technology on our new 22 inch. So even before we launched Greenworks, we were back to our factory and said, and this isn't picking on a petrol unit because again, I said I'm a car guy. To really be competitive in the battery sector and commercial, our 82 volt unit, the power's there, the performance there, the runtime's there, but the chassis actually probably lets it down a little bit, if I'm perfectly honest. In terms, whatnot. So we said, you want to be the top dog, we got to build something that will be as, someone that's got a Honda. They want to get rid of their Honda.
That's it. It's got to be able to do that.
It's been the pinnacle of contractor mower forever and a day. Yep. It still is. So we give them a bit of a brief. I'd say the feedback to my other competitor probably was a very similar brief.
Yep.
So we've been testing that unit for a long time. I would have liked to have had it on market before the financial year, but we should see that coming. But it's a 22-inch alloy base, but we use a lot of the technology from our 30-inch. So we use independent hub motors on that, so we don't have a gearbox. So we've got a fairly large opening on that rear discharge chute.
Okay.
Still is a bar blade, but it's a stepped tooth style blade.
Yeah.
230cc petrol equivalent. It's a 4,000 watt motor with a 2,500 rated constant power supply. LED dash. The beauty about the hub motor is the drive is a lot smoother. It's quiet. You don't have any noise out of our unit at all. So it'll be doing the circuit with us. It has been getting the rounds a little bit. It's been testing very well in Queensland and in Melbourne. 2 very different cutting areas and very different conditions. So, but we know that one obviously is popular as the current one that's out there. I think we'll definitely have something for our Greenworks people and people looking to come on Greenworks that are looking for that as well.
Yeah. I guess the only reason you wouldn't go down that path of directly competing with the Honda is if you're going for lightweight. So I can imagine with that machine, it's going to be... It's
heavy.
Built.
It's cast alloy base. So it's still lighter than a Honda petrol unit, even with batteries on board, but we're not talking like our 21-inch in is 32 kilos.
Yeah.
And our 22-inch alloy base is, I think, 48 kilos or something like that, because a cast aluminium based unit is full of weight.
I see 2 things come up here. One of them is, can I pick the machine up and carry it up a set of stairs? And the other one is,
if you had your wheat picks.
Well, you've got another machine that will do that, right? So this machine's not for carrying upstairs, but you could do it. But the other thing that makes a big difference is when you're transporting a machine, can you tip it up on its end, put it in the trailer, because it takes up less space without petrol going everywhere. And I'm guessing it doesn't have a petrol tank going everywhere.
No petrol tank going anywhere. No worried about putting oil in your carburetor or your air filter or tipping it towards the head and putting it in the spark plug.
Yeah.
Or having no mozzies out by tipping it towards the muffler. So
and you don't have to worry about the lithium draining all down into the motor.
Yeah. No lithium draining, mate. If we've got that, then I'm in trouble. The handles fold up, so we've got a 3-position handle that's made out of 25mm tube steel.
Yeah.
And then that will fold over and you can stand it upright in your trailer for nice tight storage as well.
Yep.
It's got an LED light if you want to start early and finish later.
Yep.
And it's all touch screen, all LED dash with its dual port as well. And it's all rocker switch engaged to change your blade speed. So we do low speed, auto, and high speed. So auto is your best. It'll sense it, sense load, and lift it up or down where it needs to.
Sounds like it should be nice and intuitive.
It will be, yeah. And the top speed of that mower, I think 6.7 k's an hour. You get a good run up. You definitely get your exercise at full speed. That's for sure. You get your lawns done.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds impressive. And
and even all the
it's not out at the moment.
Sorry.
So you got the test unit out at the moment, but
we've got a couple. We've got a fair few out there getting tested. Again, they've been getting tested for about 3 or 4 months. We've tested it with the current blade that they would sell in the US and then our Australian market blade, and our stuff will come with that mower with the low cut blade from factory.
Awesome.
But yeah, the 25 inch has done well. A lot of contractors have that particular unit. Again, bit of feedback. Want a high lift blade for that. In the US, they love to mulch and they cut high, so they don't really have a need for mulching blades. So for high lift blades, not like what we want. So we'll have some options. We listen to the market, and we'll have some options for all of our mowers coming soon to make them work even better for the people that are currently on the product or looking to jump onto the product.
Yeah, okay. Sounds good. A lot of people have been asking about which brand of battery tool to buy, and I don't like to recommend one brand of battery for everyone or every situation. Dealer support and access to parts and service all play a big role in that decision. Some brands have better tools for specific needs or each product category. I've been using a variety of brands, and I endeavour to provide unbiased interviews on Aussie Lawn Stars with as many of those product brands as possible. I reached out to Ego Power Plus through the podcast because of how Barry supports the industry and Ego owners. Barry has impressed me with his loyalty to customers in providing support and listening to the needs of the industry, which has resulted in a full lineup of new commercial tools landing in Australia over the last 12 months that has positioned Ego as a leader in the commercial tool space for outdoor power equipment. Visit egopowerplus.com.au to see if they have the tools you need today. If we shift over to some of your handheld tools, there's a couple of things I look for in the handheld tools. So one of them is going to be everyday use with a whippersnipper. I want it to be comparable to a 25cc like the FS94
or the old FS85, which I heard you talk about. Actually,
or if
that's
you
up there with
switch
one
over
of my
to Husky,
favorites.
you got the 525. So those are the two well-known ones. Then you got the Bush Ranger 301, I think it is, or it's sort of in that same market. So what do you run in that size that's going to be sort of sub 6 kilos, preferably closer to 5 kilos, and decent runtime?
So we only have 2 trimmers or whippersnippers and brush cutters in the lineup at the moment. So we have a loop handle 1.2 kilowatt, and then a bull bar 2 kilowatt. So our 82 ST12, which is an 82 volt string trimmer, 1.2 kilowatt. That's one that I think with the 4 amp battery on board is just 5.2 kilos. So the Husky battery one is the only other one out of all the commercial grade batteries that are lighter. And it's light. I think that's 4.6 kilos with a battery on board.
It's 520 is the one I have as an everyday whip because of its lightweight and long run time. Yeah.
So with our string trimmer, we see anywhere from 35 minutes mowing really, really thick grass, thick trimming like heavy under load, up to over an hour out of the 4 amp battery of constant cutting.
Yeah, that's decent.
So it's decent. So I think and our head speed's up to 6,000 RPM. It's variable speed on the trigger. There's no tricky safety or anything on the unit. and then it's 2 speeds, so we got high and low speed as well. So the motor's on the bottom on that unit, and then it's a quick load head, which can hold 10 meters of 2.4 mil on board in one hit. So
that's decent.
Yeah, so that one there is pretty popular. We actually do that one in a little bit of a bundle kit with 2 4-amp batteries and a dual port charger for people looking to switch over. To start with, it's a good way to buy that unit. So
you've made it a gateway.
A gateway, yeah, a gateway tool. Come to the battery.
Come get the dual port charger and the 2 batteries, and
get it all in one kit, and you save about, if you buy it in that kit, I think it's $11.99 retail.
Yeah.
If you bought those items individually, I think it's about $1,800, $1,850. So you save quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
And as you would know, and a lot of your listeners that do have battery, the battery is the big cost, because again, we touch on, you're buying your fuel load, you're buying your energy source. So
yeah, that's it.
We do have a couple of new units coming later in the year, but that's pretty well equivalent to we say a 30cc, but in real world, and I'm a bit of a realist, that's close to what we're talking about, that FS94.
Yeah, it sounds comparable. I think the FS94 and the Husky LST they're somewhere around 1 kilowatt. So
yeah,
comparable, close.
It is. It's a good unit. I mean, the biggest thing we get, and any supplier does, and as an operators as well, is range anxiety. So I say to someone, you could get up to an hour, and they're like, I need a battery to last me 8 hours. Well, you don't need a fuel can. It's a bit different, but you just have to have a couple more batteries, and to get through.
A lot of people can't get their head around that. The fact that when your battery's flat, what do you do? And it's like, if your fuel can runs out, you get more fuel.
Yeah.
So
I'm not advocating buying. I'm sure I'm a rep, but my dealers would love people to buy 20 or 30 batteries. I'm not saying that, but you have 3 or 4, and that'll get you through nearly everything you need to for a day without having any worry about charging on site or
you could do what I did with the Husky when I started. You got 2 batteries come in the kit, you just charge them back to back. While one's in the tool, you're charging the next one. Most people will be able to do that these days. I still hear that all the time as an argument against battery. I can't charge during the day, and I don't want to buy 20 batteries. It's like, well, you don't need 20 to get through a day, but most people can find somewhere to charge.
Exactly. And it's again, talking from a business sense, it's changing a bit of your process and how you approach what you're doing. The product's batteries there for terms of performance and whatnot.
So
it's just changing.
2 batteries charging back to back, you shouldn't be in a dilemma where you don't have battery power for the whip snipper.
No.
It can happen if you're doing particularly heavy grass, and that's where you go, okay, if you're unsure about being able to charge everywhere you go, or you can't set up onboard charging, 3, 4 batteries, I think if you're just going whip like that, then probably 3 or 4 batteries would get most people through a day.
Yeah.
But if you're going all of your tools, then you might start going, well, let's aim for more like 6 to 10 batteries to get a solo operator through a day. Yeah,
that's right. And we offer quite 2 battery charging options while we're just touching on charging and whatnot. So we do a dual port charger, which is a fan cooled charger. So as you know, and a lot of your listeners would know that, when you put a battery, when you're charging a battery, we get heat, and when we're using the battery in the tool, we generate heat to the battery will generate a certain amount of heat. We can pull straight out of our tool, put it in the charger, and away we go, because the technology we use, as well as the fan cooling. But a 4-amp battery of ours, if you could charge at a customer's house or you had onboard charging, you chuck 2 4-amp hour batteries in our dual port, and that'll charge in under an hour. It's like 45 minutes from 0% to 100.
Yeah, that's decent.
And then we offer a 6-port charger as well, which everyone asks me, is that an Esky every time I do a demo or roll it out? And that's a sequential charger as well. So that'll do 2, 4, 6 all at once, 4 amps, 8 amps. So, I say to guys, you probably don't need any more than 6 batteries a day. Even if you don't have onboard charging, just store them in there during the day, end of the day, roll it out of your vehicle, put it in the garage, plug it in. And then in the morning, grab your lunch bag and grab your battery box, and away you go.
Is the dual port sequential or parallel charging?
No, it's sequential. It does them both at the same time.
So that's parallel.
Sorry, parallel. Sorry, yeah, parallel. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, yep.
Well,
Yeah,
let's get that
parallel,
back to front,
which
yeah.
is important to know because
And
in
the six port, sorry, is parallel. It'll do all six at once, or it's not sequential. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, yep. It's important to know because if you're saying the parallel port will charge the two batteries in 45 minutes to 45 to 50 minutes, if you've got three batteries, while you've got one in the tool, you've got two charging.
Yeah. And it
So
just really
easy.
dispels that range anxiety, exactly what you're saying. You can rotate. If your customers are happy for you to charge there, or you've got an inverter set up on the vehicle, you don't have to go and invest in a heap of batteries. I had a gentleman, the dealer even tried to dissuade him. He was just dead set certain he needed, I think he bought 8 amp hour batteries for a push mower for the day, and he only needed 3. He was lucky to use 3 a day.
Yeah, well, I've just
and
put a
you can always
400
buy more batteries. Yeah, you don't have to buy them all up front either.
I've just put a 420 watt solar panel on top of my Hilux.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah. So you're fully set up.
It'll pump the juice into my onboard battery system.
So. But yeah, so we got 2 string trimmer. We got a string trimmer and then the bull bar brush cutter at the moment. Obviously, the bull or the bike handle unit is only really, most people go a loop handle these days. I think even when I was still in my shop, we used to sell.
Yeah.
It was the area changed. You still need something in your fleet, but
councils tend to go for the bull horns. And if people are doing a lot of brush cutting, then they tend to go for bull horns. But I haven't moved into brush cutting seriously with battery gear. I've done a little bit with the Ego STX 4500, but it's a loop handle. And I've only done a little bit with it. I really haven't taken it heavy duty brush cutting.
Oh, it's definitely obviously your bike handle or bull handle ones. Exactly what you're saying. Overgrown stuff, slashing, hillsides, spoon drains, that sort of stuff. It comes with a nice harness. It's got plenty of power, but predominantly the main one we sell is that the loop handle one.
Yeah, makes sense.
And then we'll have a multi tool in the range hopefully within the next 3 or 4 months, and another string trimmer as well, a more powerful one.
Yeah. Now with battery tools, the gateway has often been hedge trimmers, but the other one that seems to take over from that is the blowers at the moment. So if you pull starting a blower, handheld blower, chances are the battery blower, handheld ones at least, are going to be a better option for most people. So I know I've sung a lot of praises about the Ego 1300 meter an hour one. It's been the most impressive handheld blower I've used. So you probably, it's pretty hard for you to not have something impressive in the handheld blowers these days.
Oh, you've got to. I mean, we're talking our onboard unit is pretty close to that 13. The Ego still pips us by about 10 cubic meters. I think it's not a great deal,
so
but
it's very similar.
Very similar. I think ours is 1280 or 1290 or something like that. So, again, the number one thing we get, the runtime. My petrol, but we all know that when you're using a battery blower, you don't need to be holding it on turbo or using, especially these big ones that are pumping out some serious airflow. You don't need to be having it on full noise. It's adjusting how you operate the unit, because you've got so much airflow. You don't need to be using the trigger or the throttle so much. So
the things I find with handheld blowers is runtime and balance. So if it feels balanced in your hand when you're pulling the trigger, then that makes a massive difference to whether you choose to use it or you throw it away. But also then runtime, and I've talked heaps about the Makita, which is the first battery blower I bought. It had a 12-minute runtime, and that'd get me through a day. If I had a big day, 2 sets of batteries that'd get me through a day. So 12-minute runtime. You don't need a lot of runtime for residential jobs.
No, even with our on board, so our 82BH22 is the model number. With a 4-amp battery, we're seeing like 35 minutes just using it standard, or 20 to 25 minutes with the turbo button held. So that's really enough for what most people do. When you think about how often you're using it to blow during a day, that's really the time frame you're you're using is around that. You're not using it for hours on end. Some people are, and they want a backpack blower to start with. No one's going to, if you're
let's
doing
talk
hours.
about that for a second. So I have a car park that I need to tidy up, and I have several road areas where this time of year particularly, so we're in early June, those deciduous trees are dropping so many leaves at the moment. And if you get a wet day, you need, and I've got a BR 600, right? So we're talking sort of 26 Newton meters of force and an hour runtime with that petrol unit. And I have not seen a battery backpack blower yet that will actually compete. So we're talking at least 26 Newton meters and a good solid hour runtime is what I need to run a backpack blower.
Yeah.
On a daily basis.
So our current backpack blower that we have on market is a dual port one. Again, like I said, on that unit, we also like the push mowers. We recommend running an 8 amp battery, and that purely it's on your back, so you can spread the weight distribution.
Yep.
And runtime. So
the bigger battery
blowers
delivers more current, right? So it literally makes a difference to whether the heavier current draw machines can run effectively.
Run it, and that's why we have 82 volt, purely for that. So it's currently moving the air force of that 690 CFM, and it's 26 newtons. So it's up there. It's close to that sort of. I always go back to still, obviously, same thing. BR 600, just around that sort of range.
Everyone's getting thirstier with their backpack blowers because the BR 600's old technology now. We got to compete with the BR 800,
BR 800, and
the Echo and the Husky.
Yep. And that's why we have a newer model coming. But currently, the current one with 8 amp hour batteries, we're seeing 75 minutes just with standard mode. With that particular unit, but when you use turbo, which is where you're going to get the highest push force and the highest airflow, is you're only going to get 35 minutes. So which is pretty thirsty when you're talking out of an 8 amp battery.
It's a big ask.
And also you get the noise. So we all know what the noise battery blowers make. It's a really high pitched whistle, so to speak, or a squeal.
Honestly, and this goes back to the whole California laws, right? When I'm running the BR 600. It is a very noisy machine. So petrol mower screaming as well as the airflow. If I've got an employee running the BR 600, I can hear it from 500 meters away and it's still noisy.
Yeah.
So there's a reason why people are pushing for battery when it comes to blowers.
They are blowers. I mean, we see it even in the domestic market. You see it all the time on community pages, people whinging about Alan up the road blowing the leaves around and this and that with his petrol blower at 7 a.m.
Yeah, go back to a broom, Alan.
Broom and a rake, mate. Come on. I think our current one's about 75 decibels at 15 meters.
Yeah, okay.
Our new BB361 that we talked about before, like as I said, that's a 35 Newton push force and I think 1,400 cubic meters of airflow.
Yep.
We're going to get longer runtime out of that, but on low noise mode, so that one will get down to 65 decibels.
Yeah, okay.
And purely Greenworks have changed the way we do the air intake system. So it's a nice big bell mouth. It's a basically metal turbine. So it sounds like a whoosh, not a whistle, so to speak. Pardon my technical terms there, whoosh and whistling. It's a vacuum cleaner on steroids, but it's a lot quieter. And again, like you said, your worker, your colleague could be 500 meters away and you're still hearing the petrol unit scream. We could be 20 meters away and it's probably 50 decibels. It's going to be very quiet on low noise mode. So for noise sensitive areas and early starts or late finishes again, we're ticking a big box there. We're working on power management and how to get more bang for our buck, so to speak. But blowers are just one of those ones. But it's better than our current, ticks a box, that's for sure.
I think
and close to BR 800 or that Mariama or Echo sort of performance on high noise. So.
Tool, particularly battery tools, where you're pushing the limits of current draw and runtime, you're going to be on the edge at the moment in terms of who's got the best tool. When's a new tool coming out? Are we getting there? Have we achieved what we need?
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like we talk about what we've got in our current range, and I talked about the history of Greenworks and mainly commercial. Like some of our hand tools now are on 5th generation upgrade. Some tools when we launched it 12 months ago, were about to either pulled off the market in the US, or we're going in the next few months for an upgrade. So we held back on bringing that. So,
Yeah.
we talk about a multi-tool. So they did have a multi-tool in commercial, but wasn't really that good. So why would we bring it to our market? We'll just wait for the new model. So we might have sacrificed a bit to start with, but we're going to bring some of the, and ironing out a lot of the problems that having such longevity in just the commercial space.
And I think you might have come under scrutiny from Ben and BJ in that space in terms of bringing out the right tools when you first hit Australia. Do you have a pole hedge trimmer? I think was the cry. If you don't have a pole hedge trimmer, you're not going to get taken seriously.
Yeah. So when we launched, and hedges, you talked about, it's another gateway tool and pretty well the number one tool most people, if they're, all right, I've got all petrol fleet, what battery tool, we see it all the time on LMCA and Aussie lawn contractors. Everyone goes hedge trimmer, and it's a pretty tight market, and there's some good players there. We had three units that we launched with. We launched with a dedicated hedger, so that uses a backpack harness, which we'll touch on in a second. Then a short pole hedger and a telescopic hedger.
Okay.
So we did have those on range. All three hedges have a 4,300 stroke per minute blade speed, so it's a very high.
4,300.
Yeah, so
that's
very
impressive.
high.
Yeah.
All titanium steel blades can be pulled apart and sharpened. Magnesium gear case, all greasable. So, the one thing we probably got a bit of heat on is that it's 50% of the market love the battery putting in the tool, and 50% want a corded unit. And we didn't bring the battery in the unit because that one was going in for an upgrade late last year. So and the previous one, I'll be honest, mate, it was like 3,000 strokes per minute. We're just like, no, it's not worth it for commercial. That's what our domestic
3,000 is
units rated
borderline. There's a few commercial tools around that are around the 3,000 mark, but they really are borderline. 3,500 is probably the bare minimum, right?
Bare minimum, yeah. So we left that one off, but then we left ourselves that we only have one where we got to put a harness on and use a cord. And as we all know, some people don't like cords. The reason why manufacturers do it's purely to save weight in the tool. On a hedge trimmer, we can have a nice light unit.
You've heard me complain about the backpack batteries before.
Yeah. It's again, and I used to find this even at my shop. 50% of people, I don't mind that idea, and 50% just 100% against it. So
I think for some tools it makes sense, but when it comes to a hedge trimmer or a chainsaw, I just don't like the idea of having an umbilical cord that's getting hit by sharp blades.
No, I agree, and I have had one guy cut through 3 of those umbilical cords. Well, not him, his crew. So I've tried. I don't know how, but people can.
Every time, this is the golden test: is okay. What will my employee do to this tool? Can they be employee proofed?
Yeah, that's right. It's a big ask for us too to provide that. Obviously, with battery, we tick a lot of boxes because we can't straight fuel something, or we can't forget to put the oil in something. But it's still not foolproof or employee proof, I suppose. But our battery on board hedge trimmer is another one of those exciting products that's coming very soon, and that'll have a 5,000 stroke per minute.
The first time I got battery gear, had a guy working with me as subcontracting, not actually an employee. And I said, have a go of this. I showed him what to do. He went to put the battery in and then twisted it over, and it dropped the battery straight on the ground. I'm like, oh, you're kidding me. Brand new tool, brand new battery, dropped from a metre high straight onto tar.
Yeah, don't do that. They do take quite a bashing, obviously.
The battery was fine, but it was cringing me really.
Especially a brand new tool. New tool.
Yeah.
So we've got a few hedges in the range. Obviously, short pole hedges, I've seen this, especially in the last 12, 18 months. A lot of people are starting to add those to their fleet. They actually have a pretty good purpose. Probably, again, you talk about BJ and Benny. One of the heats that we've copped, and I know some others have, is the short pole doesn't articulate.
Yes.
Which has been a huge request. The problem for me, and I don't know how the other OEMs are with it, but our unit in the US does have a short pole, does have an articulated head, but it's about nearly 300 mil, so a foot longer, which is pretty well near on point where our telescopic one shrinks back. So It kind of didn't make sense to have that as an option. We've been onto them constantly. Please, it's something we will win. The current length of that shaft with an articulated head, and we would have a very good product. But
Yeah. Well, you might have seen me complaining about this with the Ego ones, because when Ego brought out their new commercial range, I grabbed their articulating head option and their very short pole hedger as well, put them beside each other, and I was like, okay, can I swap the heads over?
Yeah, so
the short answer was no, they won't swap.
ours will with a little bit of work, but it's something we've thought about maybe doing for our market, because we've definitely asked a lot on that. The telescopic's very easy. Just loosen the clamp on the shaft and it'll come out another 1.2 meters, and it's about 135 degree adjustable, so it's a pretty good unit.
Yep.
And then same with our telescopic chainsaw. So obviously we do get asked because we don't have a multi-tool because we're bringing the new model in.
Yeah.
Why have we got dedicated tools? But with battery, I think it's a bit different with a dedicated tool over petrol. Again, 50% of the market want a combi. I shouldn't call it combi. Sorry, a multi-tool.
Yep.
And 50% don't mind having dedicated tool on their fleet.
Yeah,
so.
I've sat in the dedicated tool range mostly. I've got a couple of combis, but generally speaking, the dedicated tool makes more sense. Hey, Gary, I know we need to wrap up in
we do, mate. You got to go, and I'll have to go. Yep.
Can I ask you before you say goodbye? You mentioned earlier that you may possibly have a robotic mower.
I thought I might get that one back. So we do have robotic mowers in our range. We just didn't bring what we have currently into Australia because it was a wired robotic mower.
Okay. So when are you bringing something into Australia? Are you waiting for the wire-free version?
Wire-free version, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. So obviously we could bring those in. It's a pretty competitive space now. Husqvarna have dominated that space forever and a day. There's some good options on the market. We're just waiting for ours to be just as good as the current wireless versions on the market. And by all accounts, it's doing very well in Europe and in America.
That market has exploded in the last 12 months. And
it's like battery OPE, mate. The robotic mower market went from 3 brands to 10.
The other thing is it's made massive inroads with the progress with those machines too, in terms of when they first started talking about those machines, it won't work in this situation, won't work in that situation, it's only good for this. Now they've addressed a lot of those issues with the software upgrades and with improvements on GPS or alternatives to GPS, so vision sensors to go along with the GPS, all the different things they've done. It's massive. So I look forward to seeing it when it does get here.
We've got some serious investment in that technology, nice. And we're autonomous mowing capability for our bigger units is something that has been worked on in the background for quite a few years now. So that's employed in the robot mowers, but also to be able to be fitted. It's a big thing. Turn up to a site, set the mower out on the map on say zero turn, and then you go and do the other edging work so you can improve your efficiency and productivity. That's Greenworks' commercials tagline is productivity powered by Greenworks, and that's all about improving efficiency and productivity for the owner or the operator.
Well, I think that's a very interesting space for contractors, because a lot of contractors don't get their head around the idea of what I'm doing, where you have a robot that's permanently in one place, keeping that lawn looking like a golf green all the time. A lot of contractors want exactly what you said. They want a machine they can have in their trailer, pull it out, press go, and then grab the whippersnipper while the mower does the mowing.
Yeah, there's some big. I think there's some big companies doing it with petrol stuff at the moment.
FJ Dynamics has moved into the battery space, but I think Wright's done it with the ZK Stander and FJ Dynamics with the battery zero turns. So I'm sure there's more hitting the market, but those are the two dominant ones that I've seen.
Watch this space. I've seen our original one a while ago, and it's impressive with what our team in the US market are definitely doing. But our robot mower, again, like you said, last 12 or 18 months, the market's exploded. So for us, we didn't even think, the wired market, there's no point even trying to
understand that.
To tap that. We'll do it with the wireless market, which will be coming shortly.
Awesome.
The other thing while we're on commercial quickly is obviously our warranty and why we call it Greenworks Commercial. So what differentiates it to the other, mainly we'll go with just Greenworks, is so our prosumer 60 volt range, if you use it commercially, we'll give you a 12-month warranty the unit battery and charger. If you use the 60-volt range and you're a domestic homeowner user, you get 4 years on the tool, 4 years on the battery, and 2 years on the charger.
Nice.
With Greenworks commercial, our hand tools, so all our handheld OPE and our batteries and chargers is 2 years. Again, no matter what you're using it for. Whereas, like I said before, the Optimus and whatnot's 5 years. So we back our product. It's built to last for day in, day out use, and the warranty and the service and support is there for that commercial user, which is why we pair through a national dealer network on it as well. So
So I guess if you're buying an Optimus at $50,000, just think of it as if you're paying $10,000 a year for a commercially backed machine because it's got warranty for 5 years. So
that's right.
Yeah,
that's a very good way to good way to look at it. And people look, we talk and people look at me and how do you get that calculation to save X, Y, Z? And we could spend another half an hour on return on investment and whatnot, but we both don't have that time. And your listeners will probably go, all right, Gary, we've had enough of you.
Well, look, I like going for a longer run with these podcasts. We're at just over 2 hours, and the dungeon is only just warming up. So I
know. We'll have to revisit this, but as an operator, if you really looked at it like you do, we couldn't open your zero. But if you look at how much fuel you use over a 1 year period, even just on a zero turn, and if you're doing quite a lot of larger acreage mowing, you would be just surprised on that one particular front alone, let alone the even if you do your own maintenance, you still got to go buy the spare parts and accessories. So
that's it. Yeah,
you'd be surprised where it ends up. It's pretty surprising when I go to a lot of people. I'm like, well, this is where you're at. So.
Well, let's organise to get you back in the dungeon soon. I think it might take us 12 months again, but we'll do it.
No, we'll do it sooner. I got to bring you a battery-powered mini bike, seeing as how you're a motorbike enthusiast, and I've got a 60-volt powered motorbike that does 40 k's an hour. So,
well, let's work out when you're going to be on the Central Coast, and we'll see if we can meet up outside the dungeon for a face-to-face.
Sounds good, mate. Sounds good. Thanks for having me today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Gary. Appreciate your time.
No worries.
Thank you for listening to Aussie Lawn Stars. Please remember to rate and review the show on the Apple Podcasts app or the player you use. Exciting new shows are released every Monday. Make sure you follow or subscribe to hear the next episode.